In March 2025, I bought a 1992 Range Rover Classic in fire engine red on a bit of a whim as a non-runner, just to see if I could get it started. Unfortunately, as things go, I named it and now I'm keeping it. So welcome to the journey of restoring Clifford, the big red Range Rover. Okie dokie. I would like to disassemble this, mainly because I want to paint that. So let's have a look how these things are put together. Hopefully it's not one of those ones where I undo one thing and it goes boing. I don't think it is, but we'll find out. So the first thing is a circlip on the top. That should be quite straightforward. And that takes this rotating keyed piece off here. So that spins down lower when if the lock isn't. So the lock is actually not fixed now. So that takes the barrel out. That's what that does. So I'm going to be very careful not to lose all the flipping bits and pieces from that barrel. Okay, so that's the barrel removed. That was easier than I thought it was going to be. The next part will be, I have to take this screw out here to take the mechanism off, which I think will be this whole piece. It will certainly be this piece with the switch on it, which I believe does work. I will check the resistance on that, but I'm pretty sure that will work. I'm going to grab a Phillips screwdriver quickly. There's a screw and a washer. Slides off the top. And that's got a piece of like a rubber material in there that aids to it slipping around. So I need to be careful not to lose that when I clean that up. So that switch clips into that piece there. And that is now released. So what we're looking at here, we've got a piece that clips onto the activation bar. I'm calling it an activation bar, that sounds like I know what I'm talking about, doesn't it? But that's what I think it is. And then we've got, there's a washer on top. This comes off. So there's a spring here, you'll see, that spring there. So it pulls off the top and then the spring releases. There's not a huge amount of tension on that, that's fine. So that can come off, that can be cleaned up. The spring comes off, which is held in back there. That can also be cleaned up. And what we're left with is basically this handle mechanism. So I don't know whether I'm going to pull that pin out or not, but we'll give it a go. But for the time being, I think what I'm going to try and do is take this spring mechanism off so I can completely strip this down, because I might sandblast this. We'll see. So let's take that. There's a lock ring. And a slightly smaller screwdriver for that one. There we go. Little locking ring. And we should be able to pop this back up. Yep. Now there's not so much tension on that. There's a pin. This can now come off. And it just pushes into that hole there. Okay. Right. So we've now got a bare metal piece here and the handle flopping around. Wow, the pin inside that is nearly worn away. If I can get it out, that would be great, because it will kind of show you. What I might do is nut and bolt that, or put something else in there, because I don't know if you can see that in there. I don't know if you can, but the pin that goes all the way through has literally nearly worn all the way through. So we might need to find another solution for that. I don't think that pin's going to come out. So, but we'll give it a go, shall we? Right. I'm going to try and just get a punch and see whether that comes out. I'm pretty certain that is not going to move, but let's give it a go anyway. I stand corrected, but it might be buckling on the inside. Oh no, it is actually coming out. Good grief. Right, so that is a surprise. So you'll see in a moment just how bad that is. Get some pliers on it. 1 second. That might break off in there. How bad that is. That's crackers. Right, so let's see if I can keep pulling this out. No, I thought it was going to break. So let's pop that bit through. Here we go. Okay. So once again, we're back with the part that was working fine. Is now not working fine. So look how bad that was. So I need to make a pin that fits in there. So I need to measure that up. Amazing, isn't it? So I'll measure that up and we'll get a bit of steel rod and that'll go through there. And for the time being, we are left with a disassembled door handle. So I'm gonna blast that and give it a clean up, that as well, stick it in the ultrasonic, and then I'm gonna sandblast it, and I'm gonna work out what we're gonna do to actually, whether we're gonna paint it or polish it out. Might be something interesting, but yeah. Okay, so it's been in the thingy bob. It's been in the ultrasonic cleaner. There's quite a lot of paint on this, it's like, as in third-party paint. So it's worth giving it a good old clean, getting all the grease off first, and then I'll stick it in the sandblaster in a second. We'll see what that comes out like. Yeah, there was all sorts of different paint on that. Red paint, black paint, all sorts. So yeah, I'm gonna give that a good sandblast. Same with this as well. So I'm using glass bead, because I don't want to damage the actual aluminium, because these are obviously only aluminium. So I will use a glass bead on that. It should come out quite a nice finish. So let's have a quick look and see where that comes out. I did just sandblast one of these hinges and I realised the bloody thing's bent. I don't know if you can see that. So I'm pretty sure it's not supposed to be like that, but I will double check just in case it's some weird Land Rover design. Wouldn't surprise me. Anyway, let's get these sandblasted. Okay, so we're out of the sandblaster. Look at that bad boy. So that's not just sandblasted, obviously. So I used glass bead to get all the paint off, and then I whacked it on the polishing wheel with a bit of aluminium polish at the end of it. There's some pitting on there which I can't seem to get rid of, but I can live with that. That is lovely. Who'd want to paint that black? So I'll paint the actual the actual door, the latch unit itself, the backing plate, all that kind of stuff, that will go black. But yeah, this is going to stay silver. Quite pleased with that. So all 4 doors should come up quite nicely without having to buy new parts. Wherever possible, I'm trying not to buy new parts, just trying to restore them. But yeah, quite pleased with that. Okay, we're back to finish off doing this driver's door handle, which is a bit dusty actually, because I didn't put it in the bag. What we had to do was replace this pin. I tip all the gubbins out. What we had, the only piece that wasn't salvageable was this pin that went through, which looks like an old drill bit to be honest, but it is just a pin that fits through behind this piece here and joins this together. So that was 4.7 mil roughly, 4.6, 4.7. This is 4.6 with a bit of rust. So I ordered some 4.6 steel rods, which was like, I don't know, a tenner for these, because I like this, I'm going to probably need to do all 4. And we're now going to work out how long they need to be, cut them to size, and then what I've bought is these little push, if you can see that, hopefully you can, these little push fasteners which sit over these, over the rods. I've bought a whole box of those to go on there tomorrow, so we'll get this to the right size first, and then work out how long they need to be to have these little thick fasteners onto them, if there's room for them, that is. So what I also did, if I can get this back off, I just used a drill bit to hold it in place while I was working on it. It's annoying. So what happened with this was that, if you remember rightly, when I had, when I took this apart, a bit closer to you, I'll try and look it up, I'll show you. So when I took this apart, this top hole was elliptical, it had been worn out. As you can see, I've managed to fill it. So what I actually did, I used a bit of JB Weld, filled the hole completely, and then re-drilled the hole. And that's got rid of that sort of elliptical shape, so it stops it from wobbling around. And then I've drilled the right size hole, and that is what I'm going to use to put the rod in. So this now can fit into here. This was all sandblasted and painted in the earlier videos. This will go in. Fingers crossed this should fit. Should fit. It fits the outside, fits the inside. And fits there as well. That's fine. So I'm going to need to cut that to size. But what I'm going to need to do either squash the end. So I need to work out whether I can squash this. It's high speed steel. I couldn't find any stainless. So this is just high speed steel. So I'm going to squash the end potentially, deform it so that when you push it in, it sort of stays in place, which is kind of what these were like, these bumpy ends to it. And you can see almost like you'd have a circlip on it, but not. I weirdly don't think that's the right part either way. Or we use the little fasteners. So I'm going to quickly look to see whether we can deform that first with just a hammer. If we can, then I'm just going to cut it to size, deform both ends, jam it through, and we should be good to go. I don't need to use any fasteners because there's not a lot of space on here, to be fair. So let me have a quick look at that now, and then we'll work out whether we can do it. Okay, that was reasonably painless. This sits flush into the door side, so there is no room for this to for it to stick out either end and put a fastener on. So what I've done, I have cut that to size and just mushroomed over the edge of the top of it. So fingers crossed that it should stay in just from holding it at the top. You shouldn't need to mushroom in both ends. I'll try and get that in. Like that. There we go. That is now in. I'm quite pleased with that actually, to be fair. So that is in, that shouldn't go anywhere. It's certainly not going to come up. And it's not going to be able to go down any further than that. So we're all good. So that bit is now on. The next piece was for this spring. So all this has been cleaned up. It's either gone through the ultrasonic blaster, ultrasonic cleaner, sorry, or it's just been cleaned up. So that pin is now redundant, don't need that anymore. This one gets fed onto here and goes on there. So it goes through the hole like that. Oops. Like that. And again, this goes through the top like that. And that is now sprung loaded. So there's a little, that goes on the top of that. And this goes in. I'm going to put that in after because I have a funny feeling that pin might go on first. I'm not sure yet. I'll have to look on the video. So what's next? We've got a locking barrel. I forgot to give that a clean up, so just give me just 2 seconds and I'll clean it up. Okay, so what's next? We've got that on there. That will need to go. I've got some new ones of these coming, so I'm not going to pop that on there. That's under a lot of force, so it's not going to come out. Next thing to go on is this spring. So this spring fits in, sits behind there quite snugly, not a huge amount of force. We have then this piece goes on. I know it's not, it's this piece that goes on, and that sits, that is the spring holds that back, so that pops onto that unit there, like that. Then we have a washer that goes on in between the two. We have this slip ring that goes on. Trying to be careful not to ruin that piece of fabric, like that. There we go. And then we've got a screw that goes on there, which is no screwdriver. The screw that goes on there. Like that. Interesting. It's almost like that's so it's the metal piece that's touching on that plastic piece there. I think with a bit of lithium grease, I think that'll be fine. It's certainly not loose like that. And now it's returning fine. So that's that. Then we need to get the barrel in. So the barrel goes that way up. So I've just given it a good old clean up. So that goes in like that. And then that piece goes on there like that. Or does it go the other way up? No, it goes that way up. Like that. And the circlet goes on there. Right, so pretty sure that's it. There's a lot of slack on that. But I think when the rod's in place, it'll be unlock like that. So pretty sure that's right. I'm going to double check the video just in case though. But yeah, that is basically that together again. I'm just going to pop that back on for the moment. We can replace that tomorrow when the new ones come in. Let's get some pliers on that. There we go. And there we go. So we now have completely restored door handle. So, quite pleased with that. bit of lithium grease. That'll be lovely. So, 4 more of those, and that'll be terrific. Just for the sake of being thorough, I actually forgot a second washer. So there's actually 2 washers sit there, look. That's what was making this piece hit this piece. So now this is working. I'm not showing it. So now piece is working without any hitting whatsoever. So that's fine. So just need the second washer, which I'd left on the other desk. So it's all fine now, and this screws it out completely tightened up. All good and all done.